Alright everyone, and welcome back. The SPL 2021-2022 League campaign is upon us. The games kick off tomorrow with Rangers holding the title defence against Livingston at ibrox. Now, very simple, I will go from 12th place, who I think will get automatically relegated, all the way to first place, who I think will win the league. Very simple. This is just my opinions. If you disagree, leave yours in the comments below. It's just me going through the squads, going through the personnel that they have for this season compared to last season. What are the key players they've lost? Will they still hack it? Who ends up where? Is there a massive drop off for a club? Is there a massive spike for a club? Let's find out. So, I'm going with in 12th place Ross County. Now, very simple. Because I'm going Ross County in 12th, I personally feel that after losing key players as Jason Naismith, my apologies, was Billy Mackay, Ian Vigors, Ross Draper, Michael Gardine. They were key players in helping the side stay up last season, along with a new manager, Malcolm Mackay. I don't know if he's any good. His last job was I think 2013 or 2014, so I've got fucking no clue about him, if he's any good at management. So, a new manager, losing extremely key players from last season. I don't know how it's going to fare. They only scraped it last season, on the last day, they only avoided the relegation playoffs on the last day by beating us at Fir Park 2-1, but it was down to the second last game to avoid automatic, and then the last game to avoid the playoffs. In 11th place, I have went for newly promoted Dundee, which is very simple. I look at their squad, and I don't think it's strong enough. I don't think they'll go automatically down. I think they've got a strong enough squad to battle Ross County to avoid the drop instantly. I think being out of the SPL for 4 seasons now, 3 or 4 seasons, it's kind of been the way that almost every club is. The same with Dundee United was, with Hibs, with Rangers when it was. Like, every club that kind of drops out usually has a period of a few years to recoup. But I think, even though they beat Killie in the relegation playoffs, I think Jason Cummins is still there. I don't really know, honestly. Looked at the squad, it's kind of hard because if they were in the SPL 2 years ago, and then they came up just after a season in the Championship, then I would have known more, but they won it, so it's kind of hard, but I still stick them in 11th place. Just really simple with it. Moving into 10th, who is Hearts of Midlothian. I've put them in 10th because I see their squad as one that, yes, you could say, oh, they're going to be a top 6 club. No, they fucking aren't they. For me personally, they're going to be 10th. Maybe 7th or 8th, but the squad, I don't think is good enough to fight for a top 6. I don't think it's good enough to even finish 7th or 8th. They bounced back in the first day of asking after getting relegated when the league was called, which is fair. I'm one of these people that thought Hearts should have went down. They were wank all season, won 4 games all season, 30 fucking league games. You should go down with that. You can't win 4 games of 30 and expect to be kept up. And Budge is a fucking arsehole. I would laugh if they go straight back down. I would fucking laugh. But I think they're in 10th. Moving on to 9th place, I think it's going to be Livingston ultimately. I was saying at the start, I think it's going to be a massive drop-off for a club. Livy, I think they'll drop from 5th, no, from 6th to 9th. Very simple. They've lost J. Emmanuel Thomas, who's got, I think, 17 or 18 goals for them last season, which is obviously massive. They ultimately will lose a couple of key players throughout the season. You seen last season they started off poorly, and then picked up, and then finished off poorly. I think it's just going to be one of those seasons where Livy, I don't think they'll obviously go down. They won't go. I don't think it's a top 6 for them this season. I think it's a 9th. Which they just missed out in European football, I think, on goal difference. And then I think they'll finish 9th. The squad isn't at the races to be battling for ultimately Europe again, well, Europe this season. They could prove me wrong, but I very much doubt so. Moving on to 8th place, I think is going to be my team, Motherwell. Now, we recently lost to Airdrie in the Betfred, in the League Cup. It's a pair of sports now, is fuck off. I think we finished 8th last season. We had a very strong second after the season, but after losing key players like Alan Campbell, Declan Gallagher, Devante Cole, it's just those 3 key players. I don't think they've been replaced. Devante Cole, he's moved down the championship, Barnsley, which is a very good move to him. Campbell's went down to Championship Luton. Gallagher's went up north to Aberdeen. They're going to be earning about triple or quadruple their wages at the new club, so it's fair play to them. But I don't see a top 6 for us this season. We have just signed Southampton midfielder Callum Slattery. I don't know much about him. When I've looked him up, I've just seen he's not played really many games as a 22-year-old, so see if he can maybe drive for midfield, help out like what Campbell did. But I would see us in 8th, not comfortably. I would think it would be like last season, have that slight doubt about relegation, but I would hope it would be one of those as well. We're not cruising for top 6, but we're not worried about relegation. We're kind of just 8th or 7th, just bounce between those two consistently. That's where I think we'll finish. Graham Alexander does want, I think, another 5 or 6 players in the squad this season. So hopefully he can get another, well, I think with the Saturday it's got to be 4 or 5 now, but hopefully he gets him to kind of push us on. Moving on to 7th place, where I think it's got to be Dundee United. Now, look at the squad. They've only had Charlie Mulgrew and our former goalkeeper Trevor Carson. Now, it's good additions to a strong squad. I think last season they should have got top 6, but they fucked up. Shankland was firing blanks at points, Nicky Clark was firing blanks. They were creating a good 3, 4, 5 clear-cut chances a game, and very rarely taking more than 1. So it is going to be a question of, do they push for the top 6 this season? I don't think so. I think they're just off it. But it could obviously be between us, Dundee United, and the team I put for 6 this season. Now, moving on to 6th place, who I think will be St Mirren. Very simple. I think after just missing out on top 6 last season, they have lost key players like Ilkay Durmus, Jonathan Obika, and Jake Doyle Hayes to Hibs. So it's got to be a scrap for top 6. It's not going to be comfortably. They missed out to St Johnstone on goal difference it was last season, because they fucked up in the last game against Accies, 2-1 each, when they went 1-0 up. I think it's got to be obviously between Motherwell, Dundee United and St Mirren for the top 6 this season. For the 6th place, I would say, not for the top 5. I think that's kind of already set in stone. We'll see if they can pace it. We'll see if they can do it. Moving on to 5th place, which I think will be St Johnstone. Very simple, I think. They've got a strong enough squad. They've not lost any notable key players, but they've not also signed any notable improvements to the squad. So I think it's going to be one of those things of where they won the League Cup, they won the Scottish Cup. I think they're about a good few points behind Aberdeen in 4th last season, but I don't know if they'll be able to press on more than 5th. Callum Davidson's first professional management in charge last season. He done well, but I think it will just be another 5th place finish for Saints fans this season, which is still good enough. And moving on to the top 4, which in 4th place I have put Aberdeen. Now, after a disappointing campaign last season, finishing 4th, sacking Derek McInnes, I think he put out the Scottish Cup and League Cup within the last 16. It is very poor. Now they got put in the Scottish Cup quarterfinals actually, my mistake. Dundee United pumped them, that's why. They have signed J. Emmanuel Thomas, who scored about 17 or 18 league goals for Livy last season, I think it was, or goals overall. They signed our defender Declan Gallagher from last season, which will be a good addition to their backline. But I don't think they have a strong enough push for third place this season. It will be very close like last season, going down to I think the last 2-3 league games, but unless Stephen Glass whips them out into prime Barcelona, I think it's going to be a fourth place. Don't see them going higher. Moving on to the top three, in third place is Hibs. Now, losing two very key players from last season, Marciano, who went to Feyenoord, and Jackson Irvine, who went to, I think it was St. Pauli, in the Bundesliga second division. The squad is still very strong with Nisbet, Boyle, Porteous, I think Jamie Murphy, Scott Allen coming back, every one of them. You've got a good goalkeeper, Matt Macy. It's still a strong squad. Will they be able to push it the full way and avoid dropping into fourth? I think they will. I don't think Aberdeen have enough in it. But we know last season they were shaky at times, losing to us at Easter Road, losing to County at Easter Road, almost losing to Accies at Easter Road it was stupid. After a very strong first half of the season, they did drop off a wee bit, but they had enough in the end. I think Jack Ross will now know what to do to press the squad along to make sure that shit doesn't happen again. Now, moving on to the top two, which is obvious as the Old Firm sides. Does Celtic get back to winning the league? Does Rangers go 2 in a row and win their 56th Scottish League title? Now, this is very simple. In second place I have put Celtic. For me personally, after Boston 10 in a row, finishing 25 points behind Rangers, I look at the new manager, I don't know much about him. Like, it's more of that kind of Asian kind of part of the world, you'd say? I think so. Like Austria and Japan, kind of more of those, I don't know what you'd call it, but not of a known kind of league you'd think. I've looked at who they've signed, I don't really know any of them. They've signed I think 2 players for Sheffield Wednesday, and then the rest is a Japan winger. I don't really know. They've lost Christopher Ayer, which is a big loss at centre back. Scott Brown, which is a big loss in midfield with the leadership and everything. Edward probably won't leave this summer, but he probably will leave next summer, I would say. I don't think they have enough to push Rangers for the title. But obviously now, you know who's first. I've put Rangers, very simple, going unbeaten in a 38 game league season, 102 points, winning 32, drawing 6. After finally stopping Celtic from winning the league in a crucial 10 in a row season, they've either Loudstone from on a fee from Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United I mean, fuck's sake. Sakala, I don't know who it was, I think it was a striker from Oostende, I think it was in Belgium, and a Bournemouth midfielder who can't play yet, I don't think because of a heart problem that's shown up on his medical scans. But I think adding those key players, you've added 2 midfielders, a striker, which will help. They do still need to add, I think, another 2 defenders, I would say. Probably another centre back and then maybe another left back. Maybe a kind of winger also to kind of, if Kent's not firing, get an actual proper right winger to actually do it. Then I think it'll be a point where they should go to both League Cup and Scottish Cup semi-finals, win the league. I would expect them to get to the quarter-finals of, if they drop out of the Champions League, I think quarter-finals of the Europa League, obviously depends on who they have, but they kick off their Champions League campaign, I think it's next weekend, which if they win that, they're guaranteed at least Europa League group stages, as would be the Champions League playoffs, which if they get into the group stages, I don't think they'll get out of it. I think they have to fight to get into the Europa League knockout stages. But with that, that is the end of my SPL 2021-2022 league predictions. If you disagree, get in the comments below. My personal opinion, don't agree, I don't give a fuck. Very simple as how I felt. A couple of teams could be altered, but I'm recording this the weekend prior to it starting, just to give myself time to edit it and get it for on Friday, the day before the actual game start. But like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.